Hey everyone.
Welcome.
Who the fuck are you?
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
And in this video, I'm going to be ranking all 7 live-action Resident Evil movies.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
For as long as I can remember, I've been a gigantic fan of the video game franchise, going all the way back to me playing Resident Evil 1 on my brother's PlayStation as a 5-year-old. And from there, I've played every mainstream game in the series, along with some of the obscure side ones. And my favorite of all the games is probably Resident Evil 4. It's by far the game I've beaten the most times in my entire life.
Thank you.
But before I jump into this, I feel as though I should express some of my overall thoughts I have with the majority of the films in this franchise, so I don't turn into a complete broken record.
Come on, man. It's fucking bullshit.
I think this franchise, for the most part, has really missed the mark of translating the video games to the big screen. I have no clue why they thought it was a good idea to have Alice lead this franchise, besides the fact that she's, boning the director?
That might be a little over the top.
I wouldn't do that.
She's a competent actress and an action star, but it irritates me that she's taken so much away from the actual canon Resident Evil characters. And it astonishes me the amount of plot holes and cliffhanger setups that lead nowhere in almost every film. The fact that one person had almost exclusive creative control over 6 of the 7 movies is crazy. I would love to ask Paul W.S. Anderson what the fuck he was doing. Are you all upstairs there, sir? Do you actually really like the games?
I was very excited about telling the secrets that I've been holding for 15 years now.
What?
You know, the truth about the Alice character, the truth about the Red Queen, the fate of the Alice character, the real agenda of the Umbrella Corporation. You know, these are things that I knew when I wrote the first movie.
Man, this is some bullshit!
And I've been keeping the secrets, even from Mila. I never told her. So it was, you know, I was very excited about kind of bringing the franchise full circle, returning her to the hive, back to where it all began, and kind of like giving those secrets to the audience at last.
What? What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
Also, it's a return to the survival horror roots of the original video game and of the first movie as well.
I'm sorry. I made a lot of money saying those words just now.
It pisses me off so much. The source material is so rich to drop the ball over and over and over.
So I had to squeeze it all in.
But as disappointing as these films are, for the most part, I do have some overwhelming nostalgia that I can't fight, seeing some of the early ones as a kid. Alright, now that you know a little bit about my background and perspective going in, let's dive right into this. In last place, easily for me, is Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. I suppose we should begin with my one big positive before I start getting too worked up, as I am super passionate about this franchise. Ian Glenn from Game of Thrones fandom did an amazing job in this film. He understood the ridiculous movie he was in and had a ton of fun with his dual role.
Alice!
And this movie thankfully goes away from the slow-mo action that started to run rampant in the franchise, but what they replace it with is absolutely headache-inducing. It's filmed so close up, and a simple one-shot is transformed into a 10-plus cut abomination. I honestly had to take a break while watching this movie. My brain was spinning. Especially when you add in the plot holes and ridiculous retcons this movie throws in. It starts off disappointing as hell, deleting the events of almost every previous movie. The huge battle at the White House that the last movie was building up to, nope, we didn't see any of that. The whole reason the T-virus was created in the second film, nope, change that so we can set up another horrible clone twist that they honestly gave away in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
So I had to squeeze it all in.
So I hope you didn't like any of the other movies, because they say fuck you, fans. You would think he would have enough respect for his audience that has stuck with him through this shitstorm he's producing, but no, he can't even do that. This movie is just so mind-bogglingly dumb. The story makes zero sense. For some reason, there's 48 hours left until every human just collapses and dies. Why? How? Try harder, Paul Anderson, you fucking idiot. The characters are all forgettable and stock with absolutely no standouts. There's no reason why Claire was brought back. What a complete waste, as usual, for her character. At least they kept their promise with this movie being the actual final chapter, but it pisses me off how they still left it open-ended.
My name is Alice.
Have the balls to kill your shitty main character off. This movie is such a unique piece of trash. It's fascinating how shitty it really is. There's no real standout action set pieces besides the murder tank, but even that was executed horribly and made no sense. It's insulting to the fans of the games and the movies. Let's move on to something that isn't complete trash. Coming next up for me is Resident Evil Retribution. The fifth movie has so many of the same issues as the previously mentioned final chapter. It wipes the board again, resetting everything the last film set up. All those people on the ship Alice saved are dead and they don't matter at all, along with Chris and Claire Redfield. How dare you? And just in case you missed it, they show it to you twice, once in slow-mo backwards. Good God, how dumb. It's not all bad though. The beginning in the suburb simulation was pretty tense and fun, though it was a shameless rip-off of the Dawn of the Dead remake, but at least it was done well. I thought the idea of having different simulations to test the virus was a good idea, though it makes no sense in the context of the previous films. But it was cool to see and added a good variety to the film. It was kind of cool to see a bunch of the characters from the first movie pop up, but it was overall pretty pointless and added nothing to the story. I do like Michelle Rodriguez though, and I liked seeing her as an uptight mom for a change. It was a good character choice. I thought the giant licker was ridiculous and over the top, but I really can't hate a whole lot. It's not accurate, but at least it's a game monster, and a giant version of a licker is terrifying, I'm not gonna lie. I think this is one of the weakest movies in terms of translating the games though. The references they give are all rehashed or just bigger versions of what we've seen before. Now there's 2 axe guys instead of 1, oh boy. They introduced the dumb shooting and driving zombies from the more actiony games. Easily one of the worst game elements in my opinion. Get your machine guns and rocket launchers out of here. Another absolutely horrible video game element was the decision to make Wesker a good guy. Do they know anything about his character? The casting of Leon wasn't horrible in terms of looking the part, but the actor they got was so bad. He had absolutely no charisma and I wanted to flick him off the screen. Barry, on the other hand, was pretty well done. The actor has great screen presence. If he was 5, maybe 10 years older, it would have been so much more. Well done. I'm not sure what they were doing with Ada in this film. She was a hollow, meaningless character who brought nothing besides another just name drop. The action isn't too horrendous in this movie, but they lean way too hard into the slow-mo Matrix stuff. And it really loses any punch or impact that the scenes are going for. We even go Mortal Kombat X-ray vision at times. It's so stupid. The other films executed action set pieces way better in every way. It's also way over the top how Alice still kicks everyone's ass despite not having any powers. I think they might have just, forgotten about that. All in all, this movie isn't near as bad as Final Chapter, but it's far from good in my book. Up next for me is Resident Evil Afterlife. I think this movie is among the top of the franchise when it comes to recreating and homaging the video game franchise, especially Resident Evil 5. So at least you can say they tried a little bit. I just wish they would have picked a more horror-themed game to take from since they're finally trying to use their source material. The fight scene with Chris, Claire, and Wesker is almost taken shot for shot, and I do really appreciate that. They also throw in the giant axe guy from Resident Evil 5, which is really cool, but he didn't make any sense in the world they've set up to this point. I'd love to know where the fuck he came from. And the action set piece with him in the shower was so filled with slow-mo. It had me for real yawning. Along with most of the action as well. It's filmed well and I can see what's happening though, so bonus points? The opening sequence with all the clones was really fun to see, though some of the wire work is jaw-droppingly horrendous. I do like how this film actually pays off the cliffhanger of the previous film, but from there the story really drags with Alice just flying around in her plane. And even when she gets to the tower, nothing really happens at all. All the characters except for Luther are bland as hell. I do think this is my favorite version of Wesker, though, that we get in any of the movies. The mannerisms, accent, and look are all pretty close. Chris Redfield was well cast as well. I just think they missed the mark overall writing his character. I think it's hilarious how badass Alice is in this film, considering yet again, she has her powers taken away from the other movie. But yet again, she doesn't miss a single step. All in all, this movie is a lot better than the previous two films I talked about, but it's far from perfect, and I think the story is so bland and skippable. Nothing really pushes the narrative of the series forward, and what it leads to means absolutely dog shit. My next two picks are extremely close, and it was hard to place them. In fourth place is Resident Evil 1. I remember watching this movie so many times on VHS when I was a kid, but even then I remember being super confused. Where are Chris, Jill, Leon, Wesker, the mansion? It took my small mind the whole movie to wrap my head around the fact that this wasn't Resident Evil. But I still liked it then, and even now I still think it's alright looking past all the nostalgia. It's a fun sci-fi movie if you can disconnect it from the games. The pacing and tension are incredible while inside the hive. The story is solid enough and even has a unique mystery twist aspect that none of the other films possess. With Alice's backstory slowly revealed through amnesia along with her fiancé. The side characters are decent enough with Kaplan, Michelle Rodriguez's character, and the captain who gets lasered. In a super memorable scene that I still really like today. I just wish the video games wouldn't have been so inspired by it. This movie made the games worse, so major knock on it there. The set piece down in the underground tunnels is great and really tense. It wasn't like the games at all, but it gave the same sense of dread and claustrophobicness. I can never decide if I like the Red Queen in this series because her personality constantly changes, but I really do like her here. She's simple and moves the plot forward. I also really think the score in this film done by Marilyn Manson is amazing, and I really wish they would have brought it back and kept the style a little bit. But I don't think the zombie effects are very well done, nor the CGI on the liquor. And it even irritated me as a kid how the liquor just evolves after eating fresh human flesh and gets stronger and faster. Huh? And the gore is also super weak here. This movie could easily be PG-13 with a few minor edits. Alice was pretty good in this film as well, and I don't dislike her character. All in all, this movie is definitely a guilty pleasure for me. And I can still enjoy it, although without this movie setting the trend for the series of distancing itself from the games, maybe we wouldn't have gotten so much trash over the years, so I gotta hate on it. Coming in third for me, just barely above my fourth pick, is Resident Evil Extinction. Although I really like the unique feel this movie has being almost exclusively set during the daytime, along with the Mad Max apocalypse setting, it breaks my brain how they went about it. They jump forward in the timeline way too far, killing the whole world. I feel like we skipped over some important stuff, but Alice gives us her recap as she does in almost every film, so I guess we're all caught up. Thanks again, Paul. If we're planning a long franchise, I wouldn't write myself in a corner over and over without having a clue what you're gonna do next. But looking past what a stupid decision that was, I think they executed it pretty well. Everything looks the part. The zombie effects are probably my favorite of all the films. They have a gritty apocalyptic feel. Alice is the most likable here out of all the movies in my opinion. She has actual emotions and doesn't feel like an immortal badass despite being one. I think the action is the most well executed out of all the films. It's filmed well and every bite and punch has weight behind it. The dog sequence early on with the rapey family was horrifically great. Along with the crow sequence later on, it was gruesome watching the survivors get torn apart. Fun game nod going back to the original Resident Evil with the birds. The running zombies were pretty well done as well, and they made it work. I think a few too many spawned out of the container, but whatever. That's a small complaint compared to the bullshit that happens in this franchise overall. The Tyrant is decently done, and I can roll with it as well. The final fight between him and Alice is a little anticlimactic, but the cliffhanger this movie sets up is pretty great, I'm not gonna lie. And they actually did kind of follow through, so major points there. This is probably the worst video game adaptation of Wesker. This dude is so far from Wesker, it's not even funny. He's completely wasted and pointless. The side characters in this one aren't great, but they do kind of stand out among the trash of this franchise. Carlos returns and has a great little ending to a story going out in style. Johnny Cage shows up as the truck driving sniper. The can guy cracks me up serving out the food. I would honestly totally be doing that in the apocalypse. Unfortunately, Mike Epps' character is wasted here along with Claire's, yet again as usual. This is probably the best version of Claire though we get, with her being a competent leader throughout. The story of Alice running from Umbrella and the survivors, well, surviving isn't bad by any means, but there is kind of a lack of plot pushing things forward. We're just kind of driving from action scene to action scene, but it's well done. I love the apocalypse survivor theme, so I can really easily get into it. So I gotta put this one in third place. I literally went back and forth on my next two picks over and over, but I think I can confidently place Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City in second place. This is absolutely the best Resident Evil game movie, but I don't think it's the best film overall. There is so much to unpack here, but the main reason why it's not my number one is because I just have too many issues overall with this messy love letter they created for the fans. I feel like they really dropped the ball trying to squeeze the first two games into one movie. We ended up getting an Easter egg nostalgia-riddled mess that just wasn't satisfying at the end of the day. This movie by far has the highest highs of the whole franchise though. There was so much that I loved, which is why the lows feel so low. I think literally every scene has a callback to the games, and it had me giggling like a little girl throughout. But the story, and especially the ending, felt so unearned. So many huge story beats were just skipped over and passed by. And it really pissed me off how they jammed all the characters together at the end on the train. That's not how it's supposed to happen, man. And where do you go from here? Cause you just skipped over Resident Evil 3 as well. No Nemesis, nothing. Umbrella left the city. It's already destroyed. What are we gonna do? This could have been a great trilogy leading up to this moment of epicness. If the first movie was just Chris, Wesker, Jill, etc. and the Spencer Mansion, the second film could have introduced Leon and Claire with sprinkles of the first movie's cast, and then they could all maybe come together once the characters are actually established and aren't just meat puppets with names. Wesker was completely wasted here. Great casting, but what the hell was that? I honestly thought he was Chris at first at the diner with Jill. And I could say the same about Leon. I get he's a rookie cop and it's his first day, but he doesn't have to be a complete dumbass.
What the fuck? You ugly fuck!
I don't understand how they can nail certain scenes and settings, but they miss so far on Leon. I think the director either hates Leon as a character, or he did no research on him and just read, oh, he's a rookie cop, let's make him an idiot and we'll throw in some daddy issues and he shot his partner in the ass, why not? What the fuck are you doing? Jill was a little bit of a mixed bag for me. She just lacked any of the mannerisms that Jill has, and nothing about her screamed Jill Valentine to me. And they never fleshed her character out enough to actually make me care about her. But you can honestly say that for everyone. And where was Barry? Did they forget about one of the greatest Resident Evil characters of all time? How disrespectful. He is so integral to the Spencer Mansion plot. I think Chief Iron's character was really entertaining, though I'm not sure why he got so fleshed out of all the characters in this movie. I'm also really confused why Lisa Trevor was in this film. It makes no sense the way they did it, and it had no payoff. Let's just run around the orphanage fucking with Claire as a child and being seen by who knows who over the years. I think they really nailed the casting with Claire and Chris though, not just because of the looks, but because they were actually written properly. I'm not sure why they made the decision to make Raccoon City a small ghost town. I was immediately like, damn, there goes the zombie hordes we've seen in the other games and all the stakes. And it really brought the tension down for me personally. The sickness aspect that they brought in was great though, and we got a variety of zombies from it, which was really cool. Some were fast and some were slow, a great nod to the Crimson Heads in the first game. But let's get into some of the more positives for this one, because there is a reason why it is my number 2. They did an amazing job at recreating so many of the scenes, almost shot for shot, while subverting expectations and keeping hardcore fans on their toes. This movie had a tight, claustrophobic feel, especially in the Spencer Mansion. The sequence on the stairs when all the zombies showed up was amazing. I just wish we would have gotten a lot more of it, because a lot of what we get is hidden in complete darkness. It's tense, but it's hard to tell how scared we should be for our characters. Are there 6 zombies, or did you kill 4 of them? Nobody knows. I just know you're still fighting and shooting. You should probably be dead, but you're not. Alrighty then, moving on. But major points here for being the only movie with an actual real horror vibe. And the zombie effects are kind of hit and miss for me overall, but they are solid enough and I'm not going to bitch about them too much. But I can't say the same for all the monster effects. The Cerberus dog looks so bad, along with the William Birkin monster at the end of the movie. I could see them going for a video game style, but come on, man. So all in all, I have so many issues with this film, but there are so many member berries throughout that I have to place it in second place. Let me know your own thoughts and rankings down below. I'm really curious what everyone thinks, and I'd love to have some great combos. That means in first place for me is Resident Evil Apocalypse. I think out of all the Alice films, they did the best job here at adapting the source material. There's multiple scenes that feel like they're taken directly from the third game and Code Veronica. And they also get some of the canon characters pretty close. Jill has the look and a lot of the mannerisms we all know and love. And Carlos was another fun character, though not really a translation of his game character, but he's minor enough that it doesn't irk me. It might just be Oded Fair, though, as an actor. He's so likable and charismatic. Mike Epps is used well in my opinion. He adds a cheesy comedic element which no game fan can deny that are present in the video games.
GTA motherfucker!
Alice is pretty likable here as well, but as always she takes way too much away from the other characters.
Move! Just go! Who the fuck are you?
But she has some good moments overall. She's OP, but it's not crazy overdone like the other films. And I really like her relationship with Carlos and the little girl Ashley. The action is filmed okay for the most part with some memorable set pieces. Alice running down the building was great, especially when you know she actually did it in real life. The liquor sequence was meh overall, but I love the scene at the school with the Cerberus dogs. Way better looking than what we got in Welcome to Raccoon City. Nemesis was amazing. He's probably my most memorable boss out of all the video games for me. His design is amazing and well executed. And the twist with him being Matt from the first movie is actually kind of great, and they subtly set it up. The zombie action is amazing and feels a lot like the games, especially RE3. The action on the street with Umbrella and the RPD fighting the Horde is iconic. This film does the absolute best job at building off the previous movie's cliffhanger, giving us all what we wanted and were hoping for. I remember as a kid, I couldn't wait and I was not disappointed at all. I have to admit, I do have some crazy nostalgia for this one, but I think the story is pretty solid and actually mirrors a common theme in the games of leaving the area on a timer before the bomb goes off. It adds urgency to the whole movie and gives the characters clear motivations to survive. I wish this wasn't my favorite Resident Evil movie, but for now it is. Hopefully we will get something that can blow all these films out of the water very soon. This source material is too great to waste. Anyways, thanks for watching everyone. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed what you've seen. I have much more Resident Evil content coming real soon. Check out my link in the description for a playlist of my RE content. Have a good one, everybody. Stay classy.